Hello, Justin. My name is Jack. I'm going to be a nurse for tonight. I'm going to be doing a lung assessment on you. Is that okay?
That's okay.
All right. So my first question is it okay if you remove your shirt for me?
That's fine.
So the first thing I'm going to do is while he's sitting up like this, I want to take a look at his chest. What I'm looking for is any sort of shallow breathing, any sort of uneven chest movement. Make sure his breathing is not rapid. I also want to make sure that his chest is even. Basically, it's symmetrical, comparing from the left to the right. Um, Another thing that I want to make sure that he's in is no labor breathing, and when I'm looking at him, he's not in any sort of respiratory distress. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to palpate his skin, palpate his chest. Why I'm doing this is because I want to make sure that he has no subcutaneous air trap. I'm also not feeling any crepitus here, and those are negative. All right. So next thing, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna be listening to his lung fields. And Justin, every time I move my stethoscope, just make sure you are inhaling and exhaling for me, okay? Okay. So in his anterior aspect of his chest, his chest was his lungs are sounding clear. I didn't hear any sort of wheezing, rhonchi, or crackles. Basically, wheezing is any sort of airway passing through a bronchoconstricted airway. If he had any wheezing, I would be like a musical tone, like of someone playing the flute. Crackles are very fine sounds. Basically, what that sound is someone rubbing your hair close by your ear. Ronchi are very coarse sounds as well. Okay, Justin. So, do you want to turn around for me?
Sure.
Okay. Now, the same thing I did to his posterior side, I'm gonna be doing the anterior side. Looking at his back, I'm gonna make sure that his breathing, every time he's breathing, that it's even, non-labored, no shallow. He's not breathing quickly. Another thing is he's not in respiratory distress. Next thing I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna palpate for his chest for any the posterior side of his back. Basically, I'm feeling for any sort of any sort of trapped air, any sort of crepitus. So, not feeling any thus far. And I'm going to try staying away from his spinal column. Okay. One thing I forgot to do is a test called the tactile fremitus. Basically, I'm going to looking at the feeling his back for any sort of what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna touch his chest and he's gonna say 99. And every time he says 99, I'm feeling the vibrations of his voice when I feel his chest. So go ahead, Justin.
99. 99. 99. 99. 99. 99.
Okay. And I would also listen to his anterior side too. So
99. 99. 99. 99.
okay. Then what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a listen to his lungs on the posterior aspect. So Justin, every time I move my stethoscope, I want you to take a deep breath in and out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Justin, leave your arms how they are. Okay. I'm just gonna listen to your sides here. So I listened to his chest, anteriorly, posteriorly, and laterally, and they were clear throughout. The next test I'm going to be doing now is called a lung expansion. Basically, I'm going to be looking for his 10th rib. I'm going to be putting my hands on his back, and I'm going to ask him to take a deep breath in and out. So, go ahead, Justin, take a deep breath in and out. All right. And one thing that I noticed is when I was putting my hands on his back, every time he took a deep breath in, every time his lung expanded, my hands were moving distally away from each other. You know, my hands were moving away from each other every time he took a deep breath in and out when he was expanding his lungs with his breathing. The next test I'm going to do is the brachyphy, and basically every time he says 99, I'm going to be listening to his lung fields. 99, Justin, okay?
99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99.
Okay. And when I was listening to his lungs, as he was saying 99, it's very muffled, very indistinct. That is a normal finding. The last test I'm going to do now is called a whispered pectography, and basically I'm going to be listening to his lung sounds again, and he's also going to whisper 1, 2, 3 as I'm moving my stethoscope. Make sure you sit up more, Justin. There you go. What's the whisper 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3
And I know his lungs does not have any sort of fluid buildup, because as he's whispering 1, 2, 3, which I am looking at his mouth, I see his mouth is moving, but I'm not hearing him whisper 1, 2, 3 when I'm listening to a sound. One thing I forgot to do is I forgot to look at his back and see for any sort of abnormal curvature, such as scoliosis, lordosis, or kyphosis. And looking at his looking at his back right now, I do not see any sort of abnormal curvature. And another thing I forgot to check was his hand clubbing. I'm looking at his fingers right now, and I do not see any sort of clubbing. Look at this hand here, Justin. And I don't see any sort of clubbing on his hands bilaterally. And that concludes my lung assessment video. Thank you for watching.